Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Leslie Martinich. She's a computer scientist turned keynote speaker, helping organizations build more engaged leaders and obtain peak performance. So the idea of being a speaker or starting a speaker business sounds great, but how do you actually go about doing it? The number of questions you need to ask yourself, questions like how do you get speaking engagements? How do you figure out the pricing and a host of others. So we're here with Leslie to get answers to those questions. So let's get right to it. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Leslie.
Thanks. So you sort of asked a question in there, and that was, how did I get started? And I got started doing workshops on leadership.
Wait, Leslie. Yeah. Oh, we'll definitely get into all of that. So so let's just first things first. For the people who are listening, who are aspiring to be the professional speakers, I suspect the first thing they need to figure out is what they're going to speak on. So, how did you come to your speaking topic?
I care very deeply about how the lives and careers of software developers that I've worked with, my friends, my children, just a lot of people. And I care that their workplace is not causing them undue stress and nightmares. And so what I observed is that the issue wasn't technical. We all could solve the technical problems to get a product out the door. The issue was leadership and management. And so I decided I would try to resolve that or help that by teaching people who want to be leaders or currently are leaders how to do a better job. So it's because I want to help people have a better career, a better life.
Okay, yeah, that's a very noble goal. So, so certainly thank you for pursuing that. All right, so for the people who are listening, they fancy themselves speakers. They want to become professional speakers. They've now just determined what their speaking topic is going to be. What else do they need to have in place to really push themselves as a professional speaker?
So they need to add some clarity. So what is their main point? What is it that they want to get to? And another thing is, so what is their message and what differentiates them from others? So the thing that differentiates me when I'm speaking to a group is I'm a woman and a computer scientist. So that used to be more unusual than it is today. I think we are finally starting to see a little bit of growth in that area, but I'm different. What differentiates you? So for the speakers who are listening, what differentiates you, and what is the very clear message that you want to give to your audience?
All right. Okay. All right. So now you have a message. Let's see. You have your speaking topic, you have your message, you've determined what your differentiator is. Now it's time to go out there and get speaking engagements, I suspect. So how do you go about selling yourself as a professional speaker?
Part of it is networking. And so I'm a volunteer with IEEE, and I know people from around the world through IEEE. And the other part of that is that over the years, I volunteered to do more and more things through IEEE, and that allowed me to ultimately become an IEEE distinguished lecturer. So I would say networking is one part. Putting your message out there on LinkedIn so people know you and think of you when they're looking for a speaker. And then calling your network and interviewing them, asking them what their concerns are about their business and what they need, and seeing if you can be a fit for them. So those are some ways. And through my IEEE volunteer work and IEEE network of friends, I've spoken on every continent except us, except Antarctica. Sorry, penguins.
Yeah, the penguins
Apparently
will
you
see you
did,
soon enough.
yeah, they didn't need my message.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not sure I want to be that cold, so
right, right.
stay with me. Okay.
You can tell them about the warmth. That's what you that's what the message that's what the message can be for the penguins and the polar bears for sure. All right. Another question I just thought of right now is, a lot of times when people think about professional speakers, they may think of keynoting, but there's other ways that a professional speaker can go about offering services. How did you come to, firstly, what are your services as a professional speaker, and how did you come to offering them?
So my services are both to do keynotes, but also workshops. And I came to that because as I was transitioning from my career in developing software to being a speaker, I first started giving workshops through the University of Texas at Austin. So they asked me to give workshops on leadership and things that go along with that, like negotiations, team building, things like that. So that's how I got started with the workshops, and then I branched into keynotes.
All right, nice. Okay, so for people out there, as I mentioned, there's other ways that you can be a speaker as opposed to just keynoting. As Leslie said, she does workshops instead. I mean, why not diversify your offerings? I mean, that's certainly something to look into. All right. So now we have a message, we have a topic, we're going out there, we're putting ourselves out there as a professional speaker. How do you go about actually getting speaking engagements?
Well, one thing I do is I apply to speaking engagement through the calls for papers that I see on CFP dot, I think it's .com. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's CFP, and also papercall.io. CFP, let's see what that leads me to. Yeah, CFP dot watch and /latest. Those both give me opportunities. And the other way is just talking to my pretty large network and seeing if they need something. I'm going to meet with someone today and see what their needs are. And I have a lot of meetings to see what their needs are. Next week, or this coming Monday, I'll be speaking in Las Vegas, and a few weeks after that in Denver. And honestly, my speaking engagements have mostly been overseas, but now I'm starting to build up more in the United States.
All
So
right.
that's how I do it.
Nice. All right. So there's a couple of websites in which you go to look for engagements. With these the engagements are listed on these websites. Are these engagements paid engagements? Are they unpaid engagements? Is it a mix of two?
Mix. It's a mix of both. And if it's an unpaid engagement, the pay for me, or the compensation for me, is that I'm going to get us some leads to people who might need my services at their business. And so I take names. I take names, and then if they need a speaker at their business, that's another avenue. And for that, I use Talkadot. Do you know if your audience uses Talkadot? Talkadot is
Perhaps not, but maybe you could explain it.
okay. Talkadot is an online um, evaluation form. And so at the end of your talk, or near the end, you ask people to get out their phones, take a snap of the QR code. It takes them right to Talkadot. They answer a few questions, and then they get a freebie from me. Maybe it's my latest research or paper that I've written or some helpful hints or tips. Or maybe it's just the slides from that workshop or Keynote. And then if they need speakers, they answer the question, do you need a speaker for any upcoming events? And so then I have their name and email. And so I really like Talkadot. It's a very helpful tool, and as well as the other ones that I mentioned.
All right. So now you have, I'm curiosity out of using Talkadot, you get the information, the contact information for people who may want to bring you in as a speaker. So then I suspect you contact those people. In the
Yeah.
event that you don't hear back from them, how do you handle follow-up?
I give them a couple chances to respond. And if they don't, then I just take them off my list of hot leads.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. I think a lot of the times when it comes to using tools like Talkadot and people saying that they have speakers or they have referrals available or they're hiring or they're looking for a speaker, people are really, especially after a presentation, people are caught up in the moment of the presentation and they're feeling great and they're thinking, wow, this person's great. I know I got people that I can refer them to, and then the next day happens and then they're thinking,
And they get busy,
yeah,
that they may come up and talk to me afterwards and say, oh, this is so helpful. My company needs this, my boss needs this. And then they get busy. And so I understand that happens.
yeah. And not only do they get busy, but then reality sets in and they think, do I actually have referrals for this person? And then you're contacting them because based on what they'd said, but now they're kind of feeling a little embarrassed because the whole everything has worn off from the presentation and now they don't want to get back to you. But yeah, after a couple of messages, if you don't hear back, I mean, I'm not sure if there's returns to keep not pestering them, but
I don't want to
messaging them.
pester. No, but I do want to give them things that are useful. So one of the other things I do to build a little traffic is every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock Central, I do a LinkedIn Live with a friend of mine. And tomorrow we're going to talk about what happened at CrowdStrike and how it might have been a failure of communications. It might have been a failure to test a particular line of code, and it might have been a failure to execute a sustainable rollout method. And, I know it's a line of code, but any one of those things could have contributed to it. So we're going to talk about failures of communication, and now that can lead to problems in your professional life and in your personal life. So failures of communication lead to a lot of problems. I look back at the 1968 Challenger disaster, and that was because of an O-ring, and the engineer who had worked on that said, no, it's too cold for that O-ring, told his manager, but didn't communicate it in such a way that his manager understood the risks. He didn't communicate it strongly enough, well enough, effectively enough, and it didn't go up the chain and stop that flight. And there's a lot of pressure to have something be released or a flight to take off. There's a lot of pressure. And so you really have to be an effective communicator as an engineer to get that message across. And so one of the things we'll talk about tomorrow on our 9 o'clock LinkedIn Live is that it takes excellent communication. So how do you do that? And so I give people tips. It's free, and I give them clues about how they can be more successful in their work. That's just one example. We do all kinds of contemporary, today's issues. What could you do to make this better?
Excellent.
How can your career get through that? So those are some things I do to help, be visible in people's minds when they're thinking of a speaker.
Excellent. All right. So now you're an aspiring speaker. You have a message. You have your topic. You're going out there. You're trying to get speaking engagement, putting yourself out there as a speaker. How do you go about pricing your services?
Uh, you know, it depends on who the audience is. So for some services, I don't charge anything at all because the payment is going to be in leads. But at the other end of the spectrum, if I'm working with a large software company, my fees are much higher and I expect to be paid for the knowledge and for the change that I can make for that organization. And so I like to think about it this way. If you have a large company with a big turnover problem, you may be spending $1 million a year on replacing those people. You're spending time interviewing and bringing people in and going through resumes, and then spend months getting them acclimated to the new job. And you spend time from your other employees who are helping this new employee to become to get to be up to speed. So if you look at the costs, if you are losing 400 people a year, your costs are astronomical. Anyway, so look, if your costs are, say, $1 million a year, and I can improve the leadership, the recruiting, the retention, and improve the culture a little bit, maybe I can save you half of that. Maybe I can reduce your reduce the number of people who are leaving by 50%. That would be worth $500,000. Well, I don't charge anywhere near $500,000, but it could be worth that to the company. So I look at what is it worth to them. And that's part of the way I figure out my fees. I don't charge $500,000.
Have your fees gone up over time, or are they
Yes.
okay? They have.
Yes.
And how have you determined whether they go up or not?
Uh, that's a function of, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. So of course they've gone up. That's a function of time. Uh,
Oh, okay. That's great. Excellent. All right. So there are people out there that offer programs for speakers to help them in their speaking business.
mhm.
Do you have any experience with such programs? And if so, what are your thoughts on them?
Some of them are fantastic and some of them are a complete waste of time. And I think it's kind of difficult to know which is which. So I'd say that the fantastic ones can really help you hone your message and understand how to get more business and understand that speaking is in itself a business. It's not just a fun let's talk kind of thing. It's a business. So I think some of the programs are great and some are terrible. So I'd say ask around, ask other speakers that you know what their thoughts are about any particular program that you're thinking of buying.
Okay, yeah, that's sound advice. For the people who are listening and they're gung ho about becoming speakers, what will your advice be on them leaving their jobs and becoming full-time speakers? What do they need to have in place?
Well, my first bit of advice would be don't leave your job yet. Start building your speaking business as an extension. So one of my friends works for a very large tech company, and he speaks internally and gives programs internally and workshops internally to his company, but he's also started to develop external customers. And so if you just leave your job and don't already have a built up revenue stream, you're going to find that you just went from, say, $200,000 a year salary to nothing. And that's a pretty tough drop. So take it easy, continue working while you start to build up your business. And
Yeah.
then if you can, do some contracting back to your old company. Say, I'm going to be doing this, and I think I could serve you well in this capacity. And so I'm going to exit, but I'm still available to help you.
Well, that's sound advice, because I think a lot of times people think if they're going to leave the company, that's it. But if you can offer services back to that same employer, and they don't have to have you on as a full-time employee, they might actually go for it. Yeah, that's really good advice. All right. Yeah, this has been a great conversation, Leslie. Thank you so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
They can reach me at leslie@competitivefocus.com, or they can just give me a call, or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good place. I'm the only Leslie Martinich on the probably on the planet. So it's Leslie, Leslie Martinich. It's Martin with an ICH at the end, Martinich. Leslie Martinich at LinkedIn. So,
Excellent. All right.
yeah.
Well, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.